Well, thank you for having me tonight. I'm excited to be here. I'm glad that we get to spend this time to discuss this important topic about frauds and scams and financial exploitation. Um, just to kind of kick off with a little humor, my husband is older than me by about 5 years. And when he turned 65, I wished him a happy birthday. And I told him, welcome to the metallic age. And he said, the metallic age, what is that? And I told him, I said, well, that's where you have gold in your teeth, silver in your hair, and lead in your butt. So anyway, he didn't find it very humorous. And I'm sure he'll probably use that on me again later. So um, would anyone like to just go around and introduce yourselves so that I know who I'm speaking to tonight, or?
Sure. I'll start. My name is
Okay.
Leanne Turner, and I'm on staff at the church. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Play.
Thank you.
I'm Ellen Beamer. I'm on the implementation team for the church, and I'm the one that worked with Kimberly Knight to ask you to be here tonight. So we're really grateful that you're here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And I'm Gwen Berner, and I'm here with my husband, Earl.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Suter, and I'm a member of the church, and I'm actually also on the implementation team. So we're glad you're here tonight.
Thank you.
I'm Ray Chambers, and this is
Carlene Chambers.
with the church.
I'm Cindy Erickson. I'm here with my husband, Bill. Bill's on the implementation team and I'm just a church member.
Thank you.
Andy Odom, and I'm just a pastor.
That's pretty important. All right. Well, did that get everyone? All right. Has anyone in this group do you know anyone who's been scammed or been a victim of financial exploitation or? Okay. I'm seeing some hands there. So you know how prevalent it is, sometimes how easy it can happen, and oftentimes how devastating it can be as well. So we're going to just kind of discuss how it happens, some things that you can do to protect yourselves and protect your family members, and then also just what the impact is, the financial impact, but not just the financial impact, but even the emotional impact that it can cause. So do we have any questions to start out with? Okay. Well, as we go through the presentation, if you think of any questions, maybe just drop them in the chat and we can discuss those afterwards. Okay, let's see if I can get this to advance. There we go. So the Senior Source is the one-stop shop in the Dallas area for older adults and their loved ones to navigate aging. We started in 1961, so that was just 1 year after the Dallas Cowboys were founded. We are a nonprofit social services agency. We are supported primarily by private donations, foundations, various grants. We do receive some government funding, but primarily it's private funding. We have several programs there at the Senior Source. Those programs include the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. They are the resident advocates or the advocates for residents in skilled nursing facilities and assisted living facilities. We have our Caregiver Support Program, which Kimberly Knight is our director there. And that's a really fantastic group. They're just there to really help those who are providing care to maybe their adult parent, could be an adult disabled child, could be another family member. And so they provide a lot of encouragement, resources for those caregivers, and offer support groups as well. We have the guardianship, excuse me, the guardianship program, and they are the ones who are tasked with assisting those who are most vulnerable and who the Dallas County courts have determined need really someone to be the decision makers for the individual. And that's usually in a case where there's not a family member who can or is willing to take on that role as a guardian. And then we also have several volunteer programs. Those fall under what's called the AmeriCorps Senior Programs, which is a federally funded program. And so those programs include Retired Senior Volunteer Program, the Foster Grandparent Program, and Senior Companion Program. And we probably have, just in our Senior Companion and Foster Grandparent Program, I would say over 150 volunteers combined in those. So, and they have a lot of fun. They get together once a month for in-service meetings, and they fellowship and have lunch, and just, it's a really great time for them. So my program that I'm a part of is called the Elder Financial Safety Center. And we are located there at the Senior Source. We are a collaboration of 3 entities that were started in 2014. The 3 entities are the Senior Source, or the Elder Financial Safety Center, Dallas County Probate Courts, and the District Attorney's Office. And you may wonder, well, why do you need to have all of these different entities involved? Well, working separately, you may not be communicating as well. You may not really be serving the older adult population as well as you could. So this collaboration came about to really provide a more comprehensive support for older adults through prevention, protection, and prosecution. The Senior Source handles the prevention piece. We offer career services, financial coaching. We offer basic needs through utility assistance. We have money management program, which is the program that I'm a part of. We do exploitation relief, financial literacy. Through our presentations, we offer a Money Smart program that's really popular. It's a 4-week class. We do it probably 3 or 4 times a year. So we meet once a week for 2 hours for about 4 weeks. And that usually happens either at a church or a senior center. We have had classes at Methodist Hospital before, and it's a really popular class. And then the protection piece, that's the Dallas County Probate Courts. We have 2 full-time prosecutors and 1 investigator who is assigned just to address the frauds and scams and financial exploitation of older adults. So they do the investigation. They do, or I'm sorry, that's the District Attorney's Office that handles the prosecution. They do investigation, law enforcement training, and prosecution of those who have been charged with the crime of financial exploitation. And then the probate courts are the protection piece. They do investigation and placement of guardians. They do annual monitoring of the guardians. And then also, if a guardian has been deemed unfit, they will remove them and find a replacement. So since 2014, we have served over 50,000 clients. We have secured $177 million. That is protected funds. It could be through restitution. It could be through just through our efforts, someone avoided being a victim of financial exploitation or a scam. And you may wonder, well, what does that mean? So if someone comes to us and they are being financially exploited or they are being financially scammed, and the efforts that we put in place help protect whatever they have remaining, we count that as a positive outcome for the client. We have educated or skilled over 60,000 clients through our presentations and education programs. And we have helped clients with 50% in savings over that time frame. So, or 50% of our clients have, they have achieved a savings of some type, whether that is through benefits enrollment, it could be through utility assistance or something like that. And you can see right here in the middle that it says we have helped clients with nearly 1 million in utility assistance. And as we end that out this year, I can guarantee that we are definitely over 1 million, because this has been a really tough year for a lot of our clients. So the question is, why are seniors so vulnerable to fraud and exploitation? Well, we kind of have a target on us. If you haven't heard, the statistics say that baby boomers have 70% of the wealth in this country. And so if you want to rob a bank, or if you want money, then where do you go? You go to the bank. So we are kind of the bank, and that's why we are just a good source for scams to take place. Sometimes we are targets because we may not have the technology savvy that some younger people may have. We tend to be a little bit more trusting. Isolation is a big part of that. We're isolated, and we really like to talk to people when we have a chance to do that. So if somebody calls the house and we pick up the phone, and they are really kind and want to listen to us talk, that may just open the door for a scammer. And scammers this is their job full time. That's what they do. And they are well trained, and they have the technology to make us think that there are things happening that really aren't. AI technology is really playing a big role in that. That doesn't mean that AI technology is bad. It just means that when we have technology that works for good, it can also be used for bad things as well. And then also the vulnerability of some declining cognitive issues help contribute to the reason why we tend to be a target for scammers as well. We also don't tend to report it either, out of embarrassment, or just, a feeling that it was our own fault. We shouldn't have let that happen. So we tend to underreport when we're a victim of a fraud or scam or financial exploitation. So this is just some of the basic risks of aging and retirement. We have a longevity risk. So as you know, years ago, it used to be that the age that people lived was maybe 65 years old. We now see people who are living well into their 80s. And there's a very good chance that if you make it into your 80s, then you very well could make it into your 90s. I, for one, I have a father who is 92 years old, or will be in December. And so it's really a lot more common now that we see people living into their 90s than we used to. A lot of that is due to the advancements in medicine, healthcare, It's also due to people taking better care of themselves as well. We're not smoking as much, we're exercising, and trying to eat better as well. Excuse me one moment. We have an investment risk. As we get older, we tend to not be able to recover from those big declines in the stock market. So when we lose money in the stock market, it's just much harder to recover. We also have a risk of inflation. When we're on fixed incomes, it is harder to make ends meet on that fixed income when prices are going up. There is a healthcare risk. As we know, healthcare is one of our biggest expenses, aside from housing, utilities, and healthcare. And then we have the financial exploitation risk, whether it is an unknown person, a caregiver, a family member, a neighbor. We have a steady income, whether it's from Social Security, whether it's from a pension plan. We have a steady income, and while we think we may not have that much money coming in, it's steady and it's consistent, and that is very enticing to those who want to scam us. There is also the risk of feeling irrelevant. As in our career years, we have a feeling of purpose. We identify as a mom, a dad, a teacher, a pastor, a firefighter, a CPA, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever it is. We have things that we identify with and that give us a sense of purpose. And sometimes at retirement, we may not feel as relevant. Our identity has changed and we're not really sure how to adjust to that. And sometimes we tend to stay in our homes, watch TV, become isolated. We're not getting out and doing things near as much. And so all of these things play a factor in our financial security. And so if we can plan ahead and pay attention to those things as we're aging, it will help to reduce our risk of being financially insecure. I'm not going to cover this near as much. This is more talking about the longevity literacy, but we do know that we are living longer, and we can kind of see this from the graph. So just the number of deaths due to heart disease, cancers, and things like that have declined since 2000. So this one, I've got a little different slide. We've updated the slide, and so I wanted to bring up the one that I have. You'll see here, baby boomers are what's called, my coworker calls them a pig and a python. So we are the generation that's kind of this big thing that's moving through. You can see that big lump in the belly of the snake. And so baby boomers have impacted a lot of things throughout the years, whether it's diapers, mortgages, you name it, we've played a role in it. And so at 65, the average life expectancy is 85. 1 out of 10 will live to be 95. The average savings or investment for baby boomers is $202,000. The average Social Security check is $1,827. The average credit card debt, that's not listed on here, is $6,648. And the median home equity is $250,000. So you can see, yes, we do have some debt. We may be one of the first generations to go into our retirement years, having some credit card debt. We're also one of the generations to first go into retirement owing money on a mortgage. Tapping into the equity of our homes, whether that is to put our kids through college, whether it's to take nice vacations, whether it's to upgrade our home, whatever it is. We do find more and more baby boomers now going into retirement with mortgage debt as well. But we own homes and we have equity, and that is, if you haven't heard yet, deed theft is on the rise, and there are some things that you can do to prevent that, or at least alert yourself to it, so that you're aware if something's going on with your deed as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more. This is just shows the years for the different generations. So you have your greatest generation was 1901 to 1927. Your silent generation is 1928 to 1945. Your baby boomers from 46 to 64. Your Gen Xers from 65 to 80. Millennials from 81 to 96. Gen Z is 97 to 2012. And Gen Alpha is 2013 to the present date. Okay. And your 65 plus demographic is one of the fastest growing demographics. We have 10 million people who are turning 65 every single day. So you can just understand how that's going to impact our economy moving forward over the next 15, 20 years. There's going to be a greater need for long-term care. Only about 1% of the population carries a long-term care policy to cover that. And if you're not sure what long-term care costs right now, I can tell you what I pay for my father, or what we were paying private pay before he was eligible for Medicaid. And that was running $177 a day. And that's one of the more affordable options. It's not, that's for skilled nursing care. Assisted living can cost much more than that, actually. So you can see here, most of you, do you remember Willard Scott on the Today Show, who used to announce the birthdays of the those who were turning 100 or older? We don't see that much anymore. We certainly don't see Willard Scott doing it, but it used to be a big deal. It's not as big of a deal now. But did you know that once you turn 100 years old, that you're no longer eligible to play with Legos? And if you don't believe me, there you go. You're only allowed to play with your Legos up until age 99, and then you have to stop. And that's why this lady is so upset, because she can't play with her Legos anymore. So, I won't focus on this one all that much, but this is just kind of a broad brush division of the different, I guess, categories of the 65 plus. You have your young old, which is anywhere from 65 to 74. Those are called your go-go years. You have your old, which is called the slow go years. And then you have your old, which is 85 and above, which are the no-go years. And just before I make anyone mad, I do want to say, I know a lot of 85-year-olds who are probably more active than someone who is 65. So but we do slow down as we get older. So typically. The number one risk for being a victim of frauds and scams and financial exploitation is isolation and loneliness. This is the number one risk because more people live alone today than ever before. In 1960, it was 7 million people, and today 38 million people, which is a 442% increase, live alone. It does impact our physical health when we are isolated and lonely. It has been compared to smoking about 15 cigarettes per day, just by being isolated. And we're slowing down. We're struggling to keep up with technology advances. As we said, we're targets for scammers. Seniors do struggle online sometimes. And so technology plays a role in that. We may not recognize fake websites as easily. We may not recognize phishing attempts in our email, but also the scammers are getting much more sophisticated in their work as well. So we can say that we are declining, but we can also say that the scammers are getting much better at their craft as well. We have the aging brain here. So older adults are more likely to struggle with managing money due to cognitive decline. And as a result, can be more susceptible to predatory lending, investment products, and services or exploitation. How many of you have seen the story on the news recently where the police officer stopped the woman who was feeding money into a Bitcoin machine? Yeah. And that's just another example of how frauds and scams is just becoming much more sophisticated. And so they really had her convinced that she was in trouble. And if she didn't turn that money over, that she was going to be arrested. So, and so you would think, well, why doesn't somebody recognize that? And it could just be to that aging brain or some aging diseases. And it happens. And honestly, it happens to younger adults too. You know, sometimes it could be for a lack of knowledge about financial literacy, or it could be because we have a tendency to want to get rich quick. So, the financial exploitation, these are frauds and scams. We also have financial abuse. These can be by a stranger. Typically, frauds and scams are going to be, the perpetrators are going to be strangers, and under financial abuse, that is typically going to be a trusted family member, a neighbor, someone you know, a caregiver, someone that you've appointed as your power of attorney. And so you just really want to be very careful about who you're selecting as your financial power of attorney when you go to establish those things with your end-of-life documents. So how do you recognize the signs of, I'm sorry, did y'all hear that car go by? Yeah, sometimes I think I live on a racetrack. So how can you protect yourself and be aware of these signs of frauds and scams? And so these ways are you know, they say there's a problem, or that there's danger ahead, there's a warning. They really play on your emotions, the scammers do. I had someone I spoke to just the other day who said that that a scammer was able to get $14,000 from her using AI technology that mimicked her son's voice, and she thought her son was in trouble, and so she too was going and putting money in a machine. And I think what they've done is they've put these machines up because it used to be they would wire money through Western Union, and then Western Union got slapped with a Federal Trade Commission citation, and they had to pay back a big settlement. And so now you have your Western Union employees who are looking out for that and watching for people who may be victims of scams, and they're alerting them when they come up. So how do you get around that? Well, you put up machines and tell them to feed the money in there. Another thing is that you've won a prize. Well, if you didn't enter a sweepstakes or a lottery, you're not going to win a prize. They use a lot of pressure tactics, telling you that you must act immediately. This is only, and we see this even in advertising. How many times do you see something on TV that, you know, the infomercials or ads where the next 25 callers will get this at a discounted rate? So there's pressure tactics to get you to act quickly. They pretend to be from an organization, you know, they pretend to be someone, you know, and then tell you to pay in very specific ways, such as gift cards, even cash, and sending that through FedEx or UPS. They don't want to use the post office because then that would really be committing, it's committing a crime anyway, but there are more significant consequences when you use the US Postal Service for that. And, but usually it's gift cards, maybe wiring money, giving out your credit card or your debit card number, your bank account information. So those are some of the ways that scammers get access to your funds, and put the pressure on you to get you to act quickly. If you haven't heard this before, trusted contacts. This is something a little bit more, it's newer in the financial industries, but your banks and your brokerage firms will allow you to list a trusted contact on your accounts. A trusted contact is someone that you select to be notified if your behaviors, financial behaviors seem to change. We know that there are all types of algorithms that help these financial institutions understand our behaviors, how we spend, where we spend. And so it can also be used to determine if you're possibly being scammed or there's a fraudulent activity on an account. I know many of you have probably received an alert message from your bank that says, hey, we think this transaction was fraud. Can you please respond? Yes or no. Was it you? Please call us. And so trusted contacts allows your bank to reach out to someone that you have selected if they notice that your spending behaviors change. Maybe you're coming in more frequently to take out cash withdrawals, and where you never took out cash withdrawals before. And so it's just an added measure for them to help protect you and help protect your financial security. And so if you don't have that set up on your accounts, I would recommend that you get with your bank and your brokerage accounts to set up those trusted contacts. It doesn't mean that you're giving that trusted contact access to your account information, but it just allows them to alert a family member that, hey, we think there's something going on with your mom, your dad, your grandmother, grandfather, whoever it is.
So you have, can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
So if that trusted contact, on the screen before, you said that as far as does it need to be a guardian, executor, trustee, or a power of attorney to be able to be listed as one? Do most financial institutions require that, or what are the requirements for, how
It's
do they
just,
know who the trusted contact is, I guess?
yeah, there's not really any requirements. Now, it would probably be best if you already have someone selected as your power of attorney, maybe to put them as your trusted contact. You may already have your paperwork filed with your bank, indicating that you have a power of attorney. And so, that would be great, but just make sure that if you want that same person who's your power of attorney to be your trusted contact, you would want to list them as well.
Okay.
Or have your trusted contact know who your power of attorney is,
Mm.
so that they can say, hey, if you want your daughter to be your trusted contact, but you have your son set up as your power of attorney, at least the daughter can say, hey, we think mom or dad is kind of doing some out
Unusual.
of character spending.
Okay.
But yeah, there's nothing that says they have to be designated as your guardian or your power of attorney. But it probably would be, I think it's logical to list that person as your trusted contact as well.
You have one, yeah. Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. So we have, does anybody, I'm sure most of you probably know who Bernie Madoff is. Does anybody know who Doc Gallagher is? So Doc Gallagher was Texas's own, or at least the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He was our own Bernie Madoff. He used to be on talk radio in the mornings. I don't think I ever listened to him, but my colleague knew who he was very well, and he would always sign off from his show as "I'll see you in church on Sunday," and he managed to defraud about $30 million from his clients, so to speak. And the day that he was charged with a crime, we heard about it, and our senior source shared something on social media about it. And I happened to take that and share it to my own Facebook page. And a good friend of mine called me up and she said, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I'm so glad that you shared that, because I had an appointment with him scheduled for the next day, and I was going to take $75,000 to invest with him. So it was kind of shocking. I didn't really expect for it to hit that close to home, but it did. And so who can you trust with your investment dollars? One of the things that you can do is you can check the backgrounds of firms and investment professionals through FINRA BrokerCheck. You just go to brokercheck.com and you can look up your financial investor by name, or you can look up the firm that they're with and see if they have any disciplinary actions against them. Has anybody done that before or heard of BrokerCheck? Okay. And then let's just talk a little bit for a moment about government agencies. So government agencies are typically not going to call you, not the IRS, not Social Security, not the U.S. Treasury Department, and not Medicare, unless you have reached out to them first and possibly left, a message for someone to call you, or you've called that number and they give you the option to wait in line for someone to answer, or you can wait in line by hanging up and they'll call you back once you come up in the queue. But typically they're just not going to cold call you about anything. IRS is going to send letters. And if you don't respond to their letters, eventually at some point in time, they're just going to freeze accounts. Social Security is not going to reach out to you. They will also send letters. Your U.S. Treasury Department, Medicare, pretty much all of them are going to contact you via mail. And then this little photograph here, who really believes that a debt can be settled with an iTunes gift card? There again, it just doesn't seem logical, but for the individual who may be experiencing some cognitive decline, it may make sense to them. And so asking to be paid by a gift card is always a scam, and just say no. And we were fortunate enough to be in the audience for a Dr. Phil primetime show. It was on scams, and my colleague Steve Benton was, how they always have someone seated in the audience that they turn to and speak to. Well, he was in the audience expert for that particular program. And if you've never been to a program like Dr. Phil, they always have somebody come out ahead of time to warm up the audience. They tell some jokes, they get the audience involved. So they're energized and ready to, respond. And one of the things that they did in the audience that day was, when I say this, you say that. And so our very own Steve Benton, when he had his opportunity to speak on this topic of frauds and scams, he used that moment to say, when I say gift card, you say scam. And so I told him he needed to start putting that in his presentation. So that's how this one got in there. And it was a pretty funny moment during the program. Another thing that you can do to protect yourself against frauds and scams is just do not take the call. If you don't recognize the number, don't answer it. If it's really important, you're going to want to let it go to a voicemail. They'll leave a message, and then you can choose if you want to call them back later. Text messages, if it's something that you don't recognize, be very cautious about clicking on any links that are sent to you in emails and text messages. That could cause you to download malware, spyware, or some type of virus that is not, it's going to get information off of your phone and just really mess things up for you. And yeah, so just no clicks, and don't answer the phone. And then that's one way that you can really protect yourself against frauds and scams and those technology viruses. So this is just kind of telling you how much the technology is playing a role now in frauds and scams. In 2021, 88 billion text messages were received, those were reported as being received. In 2022, this is information that comes from Federal Trade Commission. It was 225 billion text messages. In 2023, 1 trillion were reported. And so in 2024, about 23 billion per day, or 8.4 trillion. And I know I get text messages every single day, and especially right now during the election period, campaign period, I'm getting a text message every single day. We're also entering into Medicare season. So I'm getting text messages about that every day. And you just never know what is legitimate and what's not. And so you can see it's become a scammer's primary point of entry for theft of your data or your money. Social media is also very big in how they access their next victims. And so can you spot the difference between URLs? So right here, we have Amazon and a regular. So we've got two different A's in this graphic here. So we've got one A that doesn't look like the other one. And you see this one's a regular A, and this one's a little bit different here. It doesn't have that little leg on it. And then you can kind of see here the difference. So this looks more normal. And this one is very slight, but it is different right here. The
Extremely,
spacing on the lettering is different.
yeah, it's extremely subtle though.
It is very subtle, yes. And so if anybody remembers Ronald Reagan, he is credited with saying trust but verify. And so for seniors in this age of technology, you want to distrust everything and only go directly to your provider to verify or validate a message received. If you're concerned, don't click it. Excuse me. I should have brought water with me. I'm sorry. So scammers use a variety of tactics to convince elderly victims to withdraw money from their bank accounts and deposit them in unregulated virtual currency kiosk. And that's what we talked about earlier, where we're seeing more and more of that with our victims using these Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency kiosks. Look like ATM machines. Romance scams are really big. We see and get calls about romance scams at the Senior Source every single day, multiple calls. So telltale signs that you're being catfished. Have you heard that term before, catfished? They always have reasons that they can't meet you in person. They don't want to use Skype and they don't want to use FaceTime. So they want to talk to you on the phone. They want to text you. They want to email you, but they don't want you to actually see their face. The people you should trust in your life, if they seem very concerned about the relationship, then if they speak up to you, that needs to be a red flag to let you know that maybe this really is not a legitimate relationship. And their supposed photos will also show up in Google picture searches. So I talked about the Dr. Phil show. One of the guests on the program was being scammed, and the scammer had stolen a photograph of this gentleman from his Facebook page or Instagram page and was using that photograph and had created a fake online ID. And he had been, it was an old photograph, as a matter of fact, from years before, but he was using that as his profile picture to reach out to these women and scam them for money. And so this is kind of a new term in frauds and scams. It's called pig butchering. It is similar to the romance scams. but the difference is now, instead of just having a romantic interest in you, they are now trying to convince you to invest money in something, and they will have these very elaborate graphs that show how much they have made in this really great investment. They will have fake websites that they send you to that provide all of this great information about how good this investment is. And so it's not so much about I mean, it may be a romantic or flirtatious connection in the beginning, but then ultimately it leads to trying to get you to invest money, which is not really an investment at all. Everything that they have created is fake for the purpose of just taking your money. They use manipulation. They want you to invest in this cryptocurrency. They use the phony profiles, the dating apps. And then once you invest in it, and they've shown you how much your money has increased, and then you want to go take your money out, guess what? You can't reach them anymore, and they're gone, and they've taken your money. These are just some other frauds and scams. There's the imposter scams, lotteries we talked about earlier, and sweepstakes. So if you didn't enter, you're not going to win. You shouldn't have to pay any taxes. You shouldn't have to pay anything. If you really and truly won something, you shouldn't have to pay to get it. Tech support scams are very prevalent. Family emergency scams, which is like the grandchild imposter scam, and then Medicare scams. If you ever go to a community event where maybe they're offering free blood pressure check or some other type of healthcare service, but they ask for your Medicare card, don't give it to them, or don't give them your insurance, because if it's truly free, then they shouldn't have to see any of that at all. Power of attorney. This is a very useful tool in your end of life planning, but it can also be a tool used against you. So you want to be very careful about who you select to be your power of attorney. It needs to be someone that you trust, and you need to make sure that the power of attorney document that you have set up is how you want it to be. You don't have to give your power of attorney full authorization for everything. You can select what authorization they have, what types of things they can do on your behalf, and what things they can't do. So just make sure that if you have a power of attorney already established, look over it, make sure it's how you want it to be, make sure that the person that you have selected is someone that you still feel is trustworthy. And then if you don't have a power of attorney established, it is one of the most important documents that you can have as you're getting older, or honestly, any adult needs to have one. But there again, if you create one or you have one made for you, just make sure that you are selecting those authorizations that you want them to have to prevent any abuse of power of attorney. And then we also like to tell our clients that you need to be checking the unclaimed property. It's now a website. It's claimittexas.gov. Many of you probably remember it used to come out in the newspaper, and there was this huge long list of people and names, and then how to contact the Texas Comptroller's Office to get your unclaimed property. Now it's a website, and it's very simple to use. and make your claim. We do this for our clients a lot of times, or at least encourage them to do it on their own. And you need to check it at least once a year. So maybe around your birthday, go to the Claimant Texas and see if you've got any money sitting out there. Oh, I have, as you can see, this is my colleague's presentation. It has his information on there, but my name is Debbie Burkham, and I am a senior financial case manager. I work with our representative payee clients and our money management clients. My number is the same as Steve's, except for the last 4 digits. Mine end in 6180. And then my email address is dburkham@theseniorsource.org. And so that is the end of our presentation.